recording? Okay, great. So this is just a little orientation to how to work your way through the lessons, and I'll answer any questions you have. So feel free to ask anything you want. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And I think I did this a little bit when you and I were talking the first time. But here is the Florida Virtual Canvas calendar. And you can only see 1 month at a time. So I've had kids get frustrated when they're trying to look at the last week, like February, it wasn't showing up at the end of the month before. So over on the side are the calendars that you have access to, and you can turn them on or off. So if I turn off my homeroom, then I won't see any of these notices anymore. So sometimes that's why you don't see a notice like Spanish or anything like that. So you have to make sure you have those lit up the way you want them. If you were to like finish 5th grade math and go on to 4th grade math and go on to 5th grade math, you might want to turn off the 4th grade math or something like that. Any questions about the calendar? Oh, there's 2 ways to look at the calendar too. I prefer it like this, but there is kind of this other view. And then the dashboard is where I usually go when I want to see all of my classes. And you should have these same classes that pop up at the top of mine. So 4th grade math, language arts, science, social studies, and PE. And then you should have Spanish and art. I don't have those 2 classes, but you do, because those are run by other teachers. And so then if you want to go into your class, and we'll start with, let's go to math first, because I asked you to do something kind of different in math, and I noticed you started to do it, so that's great. So in math, if we go into the lessons, and when you get to the top, I like to collapse all. It's just easier to see everything if you do that. It takes a while, but it will make everything kind of disappear and get up tight. There we go. Of course, it didn't work for everything, but it's getting there. And then you can scroll down, like this is the one we're working on 8. But since I asked you to go back and kind of review all the lessons that we've done so far, you're going to go on down and maybe go to 1 and just take the pretest, which is the little rocket, and then go to the end and take the post-test, which is the little rocket. And if it all seems familiar and you've done it before, just move on to mod 2 and do the pretest and the post-test. Now, if you do the post-test and you get you can see this one's worth 50 points. So if you do the post-test and you score 10, it probably means you need to go back and review some of these lessons. Maybe it's something you didn't cover. And so this week, if you don't mind taking as many of those pre and post tests as you can to work your way up toward mod 8, and then you can join with us in mod 8 next week. And it doesn't really matter where you are in the mod. So if you take the pre-test and it's super easy for you, you might even want to skip through the ones and just join where their kids are at. I have kids who are working on mod 14 and 15. If they get done and they go to 5th grade, then next year they're just going to start in 5th grade again, and they'll have to work their way through it, and then they can skip ahead to 6th grade. But it's not like we have anything extra. So if you plan to stay with Florida Virtual for many years, you might want to take your time and make sure that you understand the problems really well and not.
So if kids finish 5th grade this year, it wouldn't mean that they automatically would be assigned to the next level next year?
It kind of depends on the teacher. There's not like a pre-test that places her, but if she says, if they can look at her Florida Virtual and see that she had completed all of, half of 5th grade or something, the teacher would probably be reasonable and just let her go ahead and set it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if she finishes that, they'll just put her in the next one. So, yeah. So in math, that was what I kind of wanted you guys to do. My girls who are maybe watching this video right now, I did see, I think Emma, you had gone in and started on the pretest, but I didn't see that Zaid had done it yet. So if you could go start on those pretest and post tests in math, that would be great. And then I'm going to go to a language arts lesson here. So our language arts is also our homeroom. And so as you go in there, there's a few things you're going to notice. It has an attendance button. Our attendance button for Flex is notoriously glitchy, and so I don't use it. You don't have to click that every day. Unless you're going to be gone. If you're going to be gone for a few days and do a trip, which is perfectly fine, just let me know that you're out of town and that'll help. We also have kids do school from out of town, so it's not that big a deal. This after school enrichment button is a pretty cool thing if you would like a challenge. It's got all sorts of cool enrichment ideas and different challenging things. So here are some fun things to do. It changes all the time, so you can see it's got a date on it and it's being updated all the time. This is our district. It's kind of our tag challenge for kids. So there's actually a math Olympiad problem of the month. There's some challenges with words and just a whole lot of things. And you can look back through the old ones because they're also pretty cool and there's a lot of information on challengey things. So let me get out of here. So that little button is just right on that home screen of language arts.
Okay.
And then if you go into, and these things will change, but they kind of are just things the kids have done. I think that one was a writing project where the girls wrote a play and then wanted to act it out. These are these guides that I talked about going through. So the welcome, did you go kind of through that already? Yeah. You won't, I'll make those disappear in a week or so that they won't be in front, and you won't need to do them on everything because they're pretty similar. But this does tell you, I'm getting started. Ugh, it bounces around like this so much. I'm getting started. It does tell you that like the navigation tools, which is helpful. I still have kids asking me like, where can I find the stories? And just this week, some kids were asking me that, and you can find all of those answers in here. I can also kind of show you. This first week's thing, I think you already got into there and did some things. This is what we did the first week just to get to know each other. This is that 2 truths and a fib that you already did, but girls, I know that you might not have done it yet, so you can go in there and try it if you'd like to. This all about me assignment, I noticed that Emma did that. I don't think you, Elizabeth, I don't think you did this one yet. It's an assignment to make a slideshow about yourself if you want to for me, so I can get to know you better. I'll put live meeting recordings here. If you miss the meeting, like this meeting, I'll probably put in here. You can go in and see the class Zoom. I don't always do it. I do it whenever I teach anything in the morning Zooms. If it was just a social Zoom where the kids were just playing games, I won't probably record it. So if you notice that it's not there, it probably wasn't important, which, you know. Once you're in a lesson, there's a couple of ways to get around. If you click down here at the bottom, the next buttons at the bottom. Oh, I'm like really in this lesson right now. You can click and go back to your modules. Mine has a lot more than yours does. But then when you're in your modules and you're looking through it, again, I just suggest in language arts that right now you just kind of look through and see what we've covered. And then you can join with us in this module next week. And you can either start at the beginning or you can start where we're at and just maybe not do the writing for this month. I'd actually love to see a story. Elizabeth, did you write a story about your, like a real life story from your own life for your other teacher? You didn't do that this year? Okay.
Yes. About credit. Yeah, they did it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Do you have that on a Google Doc that you could share with me?
Yeah.
That would be awesome if you girls have like a nonfiction story about your life that just kind of shows your writing at the start of the year, and you want to just send that to me, that would be great.
It was pretty short story. They did it at the beginning of the year, so they didn't go through all that structure
Right.
information yet. So it was pretty much just describing one event or something like that. So.
Okay. Well, I'll show you another thing that I have in here because I did this with the kids at the very start of the year. I kind of wanted to see what their writing was like. So I had them do a quick thing like what you're saying where I really didn't teach to it at all. And then during mod 2, you'll see it says narrative writing laws. So then I took and taught narrative writing to the kids here. So if you are interested in it, we realized that the writing part of Florida Virtual can be pretty confusing. So the first month on Florida Virtual, it taught you how to write a narrative story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and rising tension, and it didn't do a very good job. The kids were all really confused. So the second month, I actually taught it, and I have lessons on how to come up with an idea, how to plan your story, SAID writing, slowing down the heart of the story. So these are all the lessons that we did on this. Your first
Okay.
paragraph, how to reread it and check for things. At the start of the year, Miss Watson was our student teacher, but she got moved out of our classroom. So this is a whole assignment on how to write a narrative story. So you can either turn one into me, or maybe this month, if you want to switch and not do the Hannah essay, you could write me a narrative story about your life. Just any little thing. You kind of have a choice there. All right, so again, when you're in the assignments, let's say you've just read through a lesson or a module and you want to submit an assignment. This is what kids find the hardest, although I see that you're already doing it pretty well, Elizabeth, so that's great. But, and it's always really slow when I'm sharing my screen, so I apologize. Okay. So we're in a module, and let's just go down to 7 because it's right here. The modules tell you the lessons are the links over on the left, the quizzes are the little rockets, and then the writing assignments are these little guys. So depending what you're doing, the quizzes are pretty easy, you just submit them. But like right now, the kids are submitting their writing to me, and there are several ways to do that. So I think I can go to a view where it is like your screen. So here's when I'm a teacher, I can go in and do a student view. And as a parent, I think that you see it kind of like your student does. So if you log into your parent view account, I believe you're seeing it the way she does. I don't know if it's gonna, there it goes. Okay. So I think I'm in the student view now. So if I were working my way through this lesson and I wanted to submit my writing for this, this assignment, there it goes. So here's one with writing in it right here. And here's the lesson. So I'm actually first going to start by going to the lesson because all of the assignments are contained within the lesson, and the actual assignment where you submit does not have any directions at all. So the lesson has got a navigation tool at the top you can click on this little arrow and everything opens up and you can go to any page you want. The writing lesson is usually around 7 or 8. And then the assignment is always the last page of the lesson. So I'm just going to skip ahead to the last page of the lesson. And it's always titled, "What is my assignment?" So when you see one of the assignments that says, "Submit the assignment according to the directions," they want you to go back to this page and read through it. So it says, "Complete and submit the theme reading response that you worked on in the lesson. Remember to use the story, be the best detective you could be. Here are the response questions. You can click on this, it will open up. Explain how Leo's response to the bullying he experienced contributed to the overall theme of the story. If Leo had posted something mean online, how would it have changed the story?" So that's great. Now you have to, this one has 2 assignments. You have to go back in the lesson to find out what they're talking about. So this theme reading response. And if it were me, I would just click back through the pages. So now I'm on page 13. What did I learn? That's not going to be it. Inside introductions. Let's see what this says. Write about it on a new sheet of paper. Begin your introduction by writing your best hook. So this is the writing lesson. This is where the writing lessons can be really confusing in the middle. Here it is, determining theme, be the best. So here they have you reading, looking at the text. Hook your reader. Oh, they're still doing the writing lesson. I'll bet it's about 6 or 7. All right, be the best detective you can be. Take out your story elements graphic organizer. So whenever they say take out your story elements graphic organizer, that's going to be in your booklet, and you're going to look in here for it. And they're titled like that, but it can be confusing because they don't do a great job of putting the numbers on the top of it. But it probably looks something like this, a graphic organizer. And this, they're suggesting that you just do it on the paper and then take a picture and then You can take a picture, then you save it or you send it, you email it to Elizabetta as she saves it on her computer and submits it from there. Or do you know how to save a PDF of an assignment? You know how to do that. So that's the other way you can do it, and you can edit it online. So you have a choice of either way to do that. If you want a more careful lesson on how to submit like that, I think you've already got it down, Elizabetta, but if the other girls are watching this and want a lesson on that, I'm happy to do that. You may need a couple lessons on that. So that's how you work through the modules. When you are in your lesson and you click on grades, it should go to your grades. Since this is my test student and my test student hasn't really done any assignments, you're not going to see any assignments, but it comes up like this with the assignment, the due date, the status, whether you turned it in or not, and what score you got, the total score that you could get, and then it will come in with a comment over here. If I put a comment in there, you can access my comments right there. And Mom, you can access them too and read what I write to her. It won't email you if I send her an email unless I put your name on it. But you can see all the comments here. It will keep all of that. And then it'll say like, oh, it says calculation of totals has been disabled. So that's interesting because on my screen, it will tell me her total grade, how she's doing overall. It will also tell me how many minutes you're spending on the pages, how many pages you're reading, and how much time you're spending in each course. So, and when you take a quiz, I usually set it so that you can retake any quiz or test that you take. It will tell me how long you worked on it. So if I see a kid who does poorly on a quiz, the first thing I always look at is, did they rush? And if they spent like 1 minute on the quiz, I know they did click, 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 click. So I can look at all of that stuff. You, I don't think, can see that stuff. Are there
No,
any?
I don't think that is showing.
Yeah. Are there any questions about this, the grades or anything?
No.
Okay. So I think right now I've kind of gone through the things on that, and you went through the homeroom folder. We already talked about that one when we were talking before. So I won't do that right now, but are there any other questions? It's kind of just us tonight. No?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, obviously.
Okay. And you can email me if you have any questions. Oh, I know what else I need to talk about. There are these things at the end of the lesson called a DBA. It's called a discussion-based assessment. And they're coming up in about 2 weeks. We're going to be having some of them. They're at the end of every unit, and it's a time for you to reflect and think back on the unit and answer some questions to see what you've learned. It's a way for me to check in with you. And so I do these DBAs, I do them every other time. So the last one that we had, I had the kids do it with their home coaches. Like I wrote on there, please do the DBA with your home coach. And the home coach just had to click back into the assignment and look at the questions and talk to you about it. And then you submitted something saying that you had talked to your home coach. In 2 weeks, though, I'm going to be doing them with all of you. So even though, Elizabetta, you haven't done all the units, I'm happy to do that DBA with you, and we'll just talk about how things are going. Does that sound okay? All right. Well, that's it. And so each week on that calendar, I showed you how to click on the agenda, and the agenda takes you to the weekly pacing guide, right? I don't think I showed that just now, but let me just quickly go through that. So if you get on your home page and you go to your calendar, this is a good way to get around. And so let's take a look at tomorrow. So we get in here and we look at it and we say, tomorrow's Thursday, the 11th, right? And you go in there and you have a couple of choices. You can just look at what I have suggested for tomorrow, or you can click on this link to weekly suggested pacing at a glance. And this week I told you girls not to bother with this. You didn't really have to do it except for the social studies. But normally this is where you'll go. And what I do is I have the week that we're working on right here. And then at the end of the week, I'll shrink this down and I'll throw it way down on the bottom, and it'll be actually way down here if you want to see old weeks. They're kind of shrunken and they're down below. And then I'll put the next week up. But I usually have a couple of weeks on there if you want to look below and see what's going on. So it's got our Zooms on here. It's got what we're doing in all the assignments. and it has the clubs on there. So you can just go from this for the week, and that way you can adjust your schedule around. For this week, I sent you girls that pacing guide, and it's at the top of this document too, right here.
Mhm.
So, yeah. All right. Well, that's really it. And just ask me